Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Aldas, and in this video we're going to be talking about easily the most controversial team on the 2020 grid in Racing Point. Now, this team began to make headlines pretty much the second their car was unveiled during pre-season testing, and even now, 3 races into the 2020 season after the massive lockdown period, they are still making headlines both with their on-track performances but also with their off-track exploits in terms of drivers and their transition into Aston Martin in 2021. So with Racing Point dominating the headlines pretty much in every single race, I thought it would be a good opportunity to look at what they've done so far and also look into the future and really just ask the question, will they live up to the hype as Aston Martin in 2021, and could they seriously become title challengers in the years to come? Now guys, don't forget, if you do enjoy the content on my channel, then don't forget to drop a like, smash that subscribe button, and don't forget to check out my social medias. Instagram and Twitter will be above. But guys, let's get into this one. Now, it's been pretty obvious in 2020 that Racing Point have took a massive leap forward from where they were last year, and of course it is all down to their controversial car, is easily the best way to describe it, their controversial car for 2020, which is obviously a redesign or a copy, if you'd like, of the 2019 Mercedes that took Lewis Hamilton to his 6th world title, and that took Mercedes to their consecutive 6th constructors title. So yeah, not exactly a bad base to start with. Now, we all know that this car has a divided opinion, and especially after the Hungarian Grand Prix, where in qualifying it was a Mercedes 1-2 and a Racing Point 3-4. Yeah, I think it just once again just stirred those emotions, and the controversy of this car is just not going to go away. I mean, I myself have had many discussions with you guys actually over on my social medias and especially on Instagram, and loads of people have been asking me questions, and we've been having some really good debates with regards to its legality, and also, is it ethically right to have a car like this on the grid when we have a constructors title for teams to construct their cars and not just copy ones from other teams from last year. So yeah, certainly this car throws up so many amazing debates, so many kind of positives and negatives. Is this car just a child of amazing engineering and really clever interpretation of the rules, or is it a just complete travesty to the fact that we have a constructors title where teams should build and construct their own individual cars and not just copy ones from other teams from previous years? So yeah, I think it's going to keep on stirring a lot of controversy, and even though Racing Point have said that it is 100% legal and that the FIA were actually fully involved in the design process to make sure that they did everything to the letter of the law, but of course it has not stopped the other teams from protesting that car, and specifically Renault even going so far as to saying that Mercedes gave them drawings and designs of their 2019 car, which is absolutely illegal. So yeah, certainly some big accusations being thrown around by Renault, but at the end of the day, it is their right. They are allowed to protest, especially if the FIA thinks there is actually grounds for a protest, which again is Renault's right. So again, this story is going to continue to rumble on for the coming weeks and even the coming months, but the two things that I can guarantee, regardless of what happens between Renault and Racing Point, the two things I can guarantee is that one, this car is going to remain controversial both with the fans and with the teams, and the other thing is that it's also going to remain competitive as we've seen so far in the early part of the season, which is not good news for the other teams. So certainly for Racing Point, they have so much to look forward to both in 2020 and in the future as well, because I mean, they have a great car for this year that can potentially fight for the odd podium there and there, but in the future to become Aston Martin F1 in 2021, that should just bring a whole different dynamic into the team. It should just bring a whole different vibe and just reinvigorate the team to kind of up their game and really maybe become the next big superpower in Formula 1. And of course, all of this investment, which of course is down to Lawrence Stroll and the consortium that he leads, and also of course the talk of a brand new factory as well, and the fact that having the Aston Martin name, the cachet of having that brand, it's going to make it a lot more easier to get sponsors as well, because as a sponsor you'd love to work with a famous brand like Aston Martin. So again, a lot of exciting things on the way, and unsurprisingly, because of all of this hype, because of all of this expectation, it has caught the eye of a 4-time world champion in Sebastian Vettel, who was recently dropped by Ferrari only a few months ago with regards to joining the team for 2021. However, although this move on the surface seems like an absolute match made in heaven, a 4-time world champion with still quite a few years left to give, and Aston Martin F1, a brand looking for that marquee signing to really just stamp out their authority and their seriousness with becoming competitive in the future, yeah, it looks perfect on the surface. However, underneath, it is a lot more complicated. To be honest, I think even calling it complicated might be underselling it, because the two drivers there at the moment are there for completely different reasons. One has a contract, one doesn't, and it isn't still 100% clear who should be the driver if Sebastian Vettel comes to the team that should partner alongside the four-time world champion. Now, if you follow me over on social media, you will know that I have been very vocal with my support for Sergio Perez. I do believe that he is easily the most underrated driver on the grid. He has been so good for such a long time, and he just never gets the praise that he deserves. I mean, he's been at the team since 2014, and although he got beaten by Nico Hülkenberg that year, he has not been beaten by a teammate since 2015. That is the longest streak out of anyone on the grid, even longer than Lewis Hamilton, because of course Hamilton was beat in 2016. And not only that, but Sergio Perez is one of the most dependable guys on the grid. He has been so loyal to that team as well, and it's not out of nostalgia that I support Sergio Perez for staying in that team. It's because he has just been delivering every single year. I mean, even last year, he scored over 70% of the team's points in the Constructors' Championship, and he is a great racing driver, still very much in his prime, and is also, of course, capable of grabbing those odd podiums when the race does get chaotic. Now, on the other hand, of course, we have Lance Stroll. Now, there'll always be a little bit of negativity from the community towards Lance because, of course, you know, he got into Williams in 2017 with the help from his father in terms of the money, and then he got into Racing Point in 2019 because his dad owned the team. However, I do not agree with the narrative that he's only there because of money. Lance Stroll is a good driver, proved it even last time out in Hungary, of course, qualified in third ahead of Sergio Perez, and then finished fourth in the race. A really solid performance by him, and he's also one of those drivers that has really good attributes in terms of being good in the wet, and he's also a little bit of a first lap expert. He's very good at just staying out of trouble and actually picking up quite a few positions on the opening lap. So both of them have their positives and their negatives. You know, Lance, perhaps that racecraft just isn't there, and as far as Sergio Perez, we know that he does have a bit of a fiery side, and sometimes it can get in the way even when it is against his teammate. So again, both of them have positives and negatives. They're both different kind of drivers, and of course the really interesting thing is, as I mentioned earlier, is that Sergio Perez does have a contract for next year, while Lance Stroll doesn't. But certainly with the rumors and the fact that we know, of course, that Lance's dad owns the team, it is more likely at the moment that Sergio Perez's contract will be broken. That means, of course, that he'll have to be paid a bunch of money to kind of be bought out of his contract. And not only that, but Sergio also brings with him quite a bit of money in terms of sponsorship. So there is a lot that the team could lose if they drop Sergio Perez. Not only the fact that he is a quality racing driver, but of course that is probably the more likely option because, of course, Lance Stroll's dad owns the team. However, in terms of my opinion, do I think Sebastian Vettel should go to Racing Point / Aston Martin? Well, it will all depend in terms of what they can give Sebastian Vettel and what kind of assurances they can give him in terms of how they can actually progress in the future to perhaps be race winners and maybe title contenders in the coming years, and what he can kind of get out of it. He's certainly a good name for the Aston Martin brand and someone who can take the team forward, but in terms of which of the two drivers at the moment get dropped, although Sergio Perez is the more likely because, of course, Lance Stroll has that almost kind of security with his dad owning the team, I think it should genuinely be down to whoever finishes ahead in the championship, because if Sergio Perez does beat Lance Stroll again in the championship and, of course, does have a contract for next year, I think it is beyond disrespectful and just honestly horrible to drop Sergio Perez, a driver who is still in his prime, a driver who is still delivering. However, if Lance Stroll does have a mega season in 2020, beats Sergio Perez and kind of defies the odds and really proves why he should be the driver to stay regardless of his dad owning the team, I think that is 100% fair then if Lance should stay. So I genuinely think that Racing Point / Aston Martin, whatever you want to call them, should hold off until the end of the year to make this decision and really evaluate their drivers fairly, because of course, you know, Lawrence Stroll, the reason why he came into Formula 1 is to give his son a chance in Formula 1, but he is also now the team owner and in charge of hundreds of people and really the futures of hundreds of people as well. So he needs to make the business decision, and it shouldn't just be a case of saving Lance Stroll's skin in Formula 1 and keeping him there if he does not beat Sergio Perez and do a good enough job. Because if they really want to go ahead with Aston Martin, if they really want to become the next superpower, look at the lineup that they're against in terms of the other teams. You know, Mercedes, because of course we have to compare them to the best teams. The Mercedes have a 6-time world champion and Valtteri Bottas, another great quality driver. Ferrari will have Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, a brilliant partnership. And then, of course, at Red Bull, you have Max Verstappen and Alexander Albon, someone who's improving all the time. And that is the quality of the drivers that they are up against. So that is why, and I'll reiterate, I do think that Racing Point should be fair, and ignoring the contract situations, they should wait till the end of the season and genuinely evaluate which driver is best at the end of 2020 and which driver finishes ahead of each other in the championship as well, because now they have an amazing car to really show what they're capable of. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about with regards to the massive hype around Aston Martin is their car. Now, in terms of next year for 2021, there is already fresh controversy yet again. Of course, this team can't really run away from it. That apparently, because of the new token system which has been put in place in Formula 1, because of course, the cost cap, the fact that Formula 1 teams need to save money, and also due to the pandemic as well, now the teams can only have a certain amount of upgrades or token upgrades throughout the entire season. And apparently, there is a loophole which will allow Racing Point next year as Aston Martin to basically carry over the 2020 Mercedes, the very car that is basically lapping the entire field, for absolutely free. So potentially, I know these are completely unconfirmed reports, and certainly guys, go have a read for yourself. I'll have all the articles linked below, but potentially Aston Martin can turn up in 2021 with this year's Mercedes and possibly be the second best team on the field. So again, massive controversy this year, huge controversy for next year, and yeah, just even more fun for the other teams in F1. So although Aston Martin might potentially ride a massive wave of success using this year's Mercedes, the one thing that they won't be able to do is copy any of the cars for the brand new rule changes in 2022. And I think that's the biggest question mark over Aston Martin and all of this massive hype, because yes, they could have a successful 2020 and then a successful 2021, but they won't be able to copy anyone for the brand new rule changes. And fundamentally, this team is still a midfield team. Doesn't matter with all of their massive success, and they do still need a whole bunch of money and a lot more investment and a lot more people to actually improve it yet again, because again, we have McLaren on the rise, we have Red Bull who could possibly deliver something in 2022, and you just know Mercedes are going to do something great for the brand new regs. So there's a lot of competition, and it isn't just a given that Racing Point, which is again fundamentally a midfield team, yes, even though Sebastian Vettel might be coming in and they are turning into Aston Martin, this is fundamentally the same midfield team. So again, that's going to be the biggest question. Can they develop? Can they almost step their game up again and actually prove everyone wrong and develop into 2022 with a car that is going to be capable of perhaps winning races and fighting for a world championship, or at the very least giving the drivers a base, somewhere to start with and build upon to the future to actually live up to the expectation and deliver on the hype that is Aston Martin as we know it right now. Now, in my opinion, guys, I'm still not convinced. I still think this team has so much work to do, not just with their drivers and their car, especially for the brand new regs, but I think internally there's a lot of things that need to be sorted out in terms of money, sponsorship, the way this team is run, the way they handle their drivers, especially when you compare Racing Point to the way McLaren has been run in 2020 and the amazing progress that they've been making over the past couple of years, because I do think that this is technically still kind of a bit of a young team, I suppose you can kind of say, still making their way up, and I don't think they're anywhere near ready to challenge the likes of Mercedes. And certainly the way they'll develop from the 2021 to the 2022 rule changes, I think there is also a massive potential that they'll just kind of flop and not deliver on their massive hype. However, I do think that they are going in the right direction. There's a lot of exciting things going on, and is the addition of Sebastian Vettel and is this Aston Martin name enough for them to actually make the progress that they want to make in the future? Well, I'm gonna hand over to you guys because this is the end of the video, and let me know in the comments below, guys, do you believe the hype in Aston Martin, and what do you think their driver lineup should be for 2021 if you were in charge of the team? I cannot wait to see what you guys think, and I hope you did enjoy this video, and if you did, don't forget to drop a like, smash that subscribe button, and don't forget to check out my social medias. Instagram and Twitter will be above, and guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.